The council chamber was massive, filled with representatives from hundreds of alien species. They floated on platforms arranged in circles, with the oldest and wisest species sitting highest. At the very top sat the Vaughn, ancient beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall for over 100,000 years. Elder Marcus, a Vaughn who had lived for 8,000 years, sat perfectly still. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors to show his feelings. Today, the colors showed worry. The council recognizes War Premier Voltar of the Kralth Dominion, announced the moderator. Voltar's platform descended. He was a large creature with multiple arms, and his species had grown powerful by conquering other worlds. He spoke with absolute confidence. Honored Council, I bring a simple message. Humanity controls 12 star systems near our border. We want 3 of them, New Horizon, Bellwether, and Crestfall. These worlds have resources we need. Humanity is weak and small. They should give us these systems peacefully, or we will take them by force. The chamber erupted in whispers. Humanity had only been part of the council for 200 years, barely any time at all by galactic standards. They were quiet, peaceful, and seemed unremarkable compared to older species. Ambassador Thomas Wright represented humanity. He was a calm man with gray hair who never seemed to get upset. He sat quietly, showing no emotion as Voltar threatened his people. The strong expand, the weak make room. This is nature, Voltar continued. He turned to face Elder Marcus. Surely the wise elders agree. Why should the Kralth stop growing just because humanity exists? They barely have 800 ships. They have never fought a war since joining the council. They are nothing. Elder Marcus's crystal body flashed amber, the color of alarm and warning. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with age and wisdom. War Premier Voltar, I must tell you something important. The Vaughn have watched humanity carefully since they joined the council. We watched them even before that, for 500 years. In all our 100,000 years of observing the galaxy, we have learned how to deal with almost every type of intelligent life. He paused, and his body shifted to colors that meant serious danger. About humanity, we have only one rule: never challenge them. Never push them. Never make them show you what they truly are. Voltar made a sound like laughter. Elder, with respect, I think you believe human lies. We have studied them. They are weak creatures with no natural weapons, no armor, nothing special. Their technology is average. Their fleet is tiny. They have been peaceful for 200 years because they cannot fight. You are old and overcautious. That is exactly what worries me, Marcus replied quietly. War Premier, please reconsider. Withdraw your demand. Talk with them peacefully. The Vaughn have learned what happens when. The Vaughn have grown afraid in your old age, Voltar interrupted. Perhaps younger, stronger species should lead now. We have given humanity a simple choice. Give us 3 systems and have peace, or refuse and face war. The choice is theirs. Everyone looked at Ambassador Wright. The human stood slowly, his movements calm and controlled. War Premier Voltar, we appreciate your directness. However, we must decline. The people living on New Horizon, Bellwether, and Crestfall are human families who have lived there for generations. We will not abandon them. Then you choose war, Voltar stated. We choose to continue talking, Wright corrected. I am certain we can find a solution that benefits everyone. Perhaps we could discuss mining rights or... I am not a merchant, Voltar's platform began rising. You have 48 hours to evacuate those 3 systems. After that, we take them by force. Think carefully, human. Your entire fleet could not defeat even one of our border fleets. You are outmatched in every way. The elders may protect you with mysterious warnings, but the Kralth see the truth. You are weak. Voltar left the chamber. Silence fell. Elder Marcus's body turned deep red, the color of grief and mourning. Ambassador Wright sat down slowly. He touched a device on his wrist, sending a coded message back to Earth. Then he looked up at Elder Marcus. Elder, I appreciate your counsel. I wish Voltar had listened. As do I, Ambassador. Marcus's colors showed deep sadness. What will humanity do? Wright's calm expression remained, but something changed in his eyes. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating, like winter ice. We will prepare, Elder. That is what humans do best. We always prepare. 48 hours later, the Kralth fleet arrived at New Horizon and opened fire. The Kralth fleet arrived at New Horizon exactly 48 hours later. 20 massive warships surrounded the small human colony world, their weapons charged and ready. Captain Rebecca Stone commanded the colony's defense fleet. She had only 5 small patrol ships, designed more for asteroid mining escorts than actual combat. When her sensors detected the Krauth Armada, she knew immediately what would happen. All ships, form defensive position around the evacuation centers, she ordered. Buy the civilians as much time as possible. Her second officer, Lieutenant James Cooper, looked at her with understanding. They both knew these 5 ships could not stop 20 Krauth warships. But they could try. The Krauth did not even send a warning. Their weapons opened fire, massive energy beams that cut through Rebecca's ships like paper. Within minutes, all 5 patrol vessels were destroyed. Rebecca's last transmission was simple: Earth, they are coming. Remember us. Then the Krauth began bombarding the colony itself. New Horizon was a farming world, peaceful and green. 50,000 humans lived there in small towns scattered across 3 continents. They grew food, raised families, and dreamed of the future. Most had never even held a weapon. The bombardment lasted 4 hours. When it ended, New Horizons towns were ruins. 50,000 people were dead. The Krauth broadcasted their victory across the entire galaxy. Let this be a lesson, War Premier Voltar announced. Humanity is weak. Their defenses crumbled immediately. Any species considering alliance with humans should reconsider. The Krauth Dominion is the future. Other aggressive species began watching human territory with interest. If the Krauth could take human worlds so easily, perhaps they could too. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session within hours. The chamber was filled with shocked representatives. Many species had never seen such blatant aggression against a council member. Ambassador Wright entered the chamber differently than before. He walked with the same calm steps, but everything else had changed. His face was no longer warm and diplomatic. It was cold, empty, like looking at a frozen lake. Elder Marcus watched the human approach, and his crystal body pulsed with colors he had not shown in centuries. Fear. Deep, ancient fear. Ambassador Wright, the council offers condolences for your loss, the moderator began. Noted, Wright replied, his voice flat and emotionless. He did not sit. He stood before the entire council and spoke clearly. The United Earth government has a message for War Premier Voltar and the Krauth Dominion. You attacked a civilian colony without warning. You murdered 50,000 unarmed men, women, and children. You were warned by the elders. You ignored that warning. He paused, and the entire chamber went silent. You now have 48 hours to withdraw completely from New Horizon and issue a formal apology to humanity. This is your only chance. After 48 hours, Earth will respond. Voltar, present in the chamber, made his species' version of laughter. You threaten us? You, who just lost an entire colony? Your 5 patrol ships could not even delay us. What will you do, human? Send angry messages? We have 8,000 warships. You have 800. Simple mathematics. Wright looked at Voltar with eyes that showed nothing, no anger, no fear, just cold calculation. 48 hours, he repeated. You were warned. Now you are being given mercy. I suggest you take it. This is absurd, Voltar gestured to the council. He speaks of mercy while his people burn. This is why humanity is weak. All emotion, no strength. Wright touched his wrist device. Immediately, the chamber's central display activated, showing an official document with Earth's government seal. The United Earth government hereby declares activation of species-level response protocol. All defense forces are mobilized. All reserve fleets are activated. All strategic assets are deployed. The Krauth Dominion has 48 hours to comply with our terms. Species-level response protocol. Another council member asked. What does that mean? Wright finally looked away from Voltar, addressing the entire council. It means every human military asset, everywhere, is now active. It means every defense plan, every contingency, every scenario we have prepared for the last 200 years is being executed. It means humanity is no longer interested in diplomacy with the Krauth Dominion. Elder Marcus stood, his crystal body flashing urgent colors. All species with territory near the conflict zone should evacuate immediately. Neutral species should withdraw at least 50 light-years from both human and Krauth space. This is ridiculous, Voltar scoffed. You panic over nothing, Elder. The humans are finished. Marcus turned to face Voltar directly. His voice was soft but carried throughout the chamber. War Premier, you have made a terrible mistake. You attacked them. You killed their people. And now you have given them 48 hours to show you what they have been preparing for since before they left their homeworld. You have triggered the very thing that makes humanity the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And what is that? Voltaire demanded. Their memory, Marcus replied. Humans never forget. And they never forgive those who harm their own. Wright left the chamber without another word. Behind him, Elder Marcus began coordinating evacuation of neutral species from the conflict zone. The 48 hours began counting down. Voltaire ordered his fleets to reinforce their positions in human territory. He was confident, certain of victory. He had no idea what was coming. The 48 hours passed. The Krauth did not withdraw. Instead, War Premier Voltaire sent 3 more fleets to occupy the other 2 human systems he had demanded. He was certain humanity would surrender once they saw the overwhelming force. He was wrong. Across human space, something extraordinary began happening. Ships emerged from locations that galactic intelligence had never detected. Hidden stations activated. Fleets that were not supposed to exist appeared on sensors throughout the galaxy. Within 6 hours of the deadline passing, the Krauth counted not 800 human ships, but over 4,000. And more kept appearing. Where are they coming from? Voltaire demanded of his intelligence officers. Nobody had an answer. Far away in the Vaughn archives, Elder Marcus brought his student Helen deeper into the ancient records. She needed to understand what was about to happen. Access the Earth files, Marcus commanded the archive system. Show evolutionary history. The crystals around them glowed, projecting images of Earth. Helen saw a beautiful blue world covered in oceans and green land. It looks peaceful, she observed. Look at the life forms, Marcus said quietly. The images changed, showing Earth's creatures. Helen saw animals with massive teeth designed for tearing flesh. She saw tiny insects that could kill with venom. She saw ocean predators that could swallow prey whole. She saw birds with talons like knives. This is a death world, Helen whispered in shock. Class 7 at least. How did humans survive? Watch their evolution, Marcus instructed. The projection showed early humans. They were small, weak, with no claws or fangs or armor. They should have been prey for everything else on Earth. They looked so fragile, Helen said. They were. But they had advantages other species never developed. First, endurance. Humans can run for days without stopping. They would chase prey animals until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They are persistence hunters. The images showed ancient humans tracking large animals across vast distances, following for days until their prey simply could not run anymore. Second, they solve problems. When humans encounter something they cannot defeat, they think. They create tools. They find weaknesses. Then they share what they learned with every other human. Knowledge spreads through their entire species. The projection accelerated, showing human advancement. Stone tools became metal tools. Simple weapons became complex machines. Thousands of years compressed into moments. Third, and most dangerous, Marcus continued, humans cooperate in large groups while constantly competing with each other. Their entire history is warfare. Not just fighting for food or territory, but fighting for ideas, for pride, for revenge. Helen watched in horror as the images showed human conflicts. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. Bombs that could sterilize entire planets. They developed atomic weapons before they left their own world, Marcus said. They created devices that could kill every living thing on Earth. And they nearly used them. Multiple times. Why did they not destroy themselves? Helen asked. Because alongside their capacity for destruction, they also developed something else. Cooperation at a species level. They realized that if they wanted to survive, they had to work together. But the weapons remained. The knowledge remained. The mindset remained. The projection showed humanity's expansion into space. When they reached the stars, they expected to find enemies. They assumed someone out there would try to destroy them. So they prepared. Hidden shipyards. Secret weapons platforms. Reserve fleets. Strategic stockpiles. They prepared for war while speaking of peace. Marcus shifted the image to show humanity's first contact with the Vaughn. We tested them. 500 years ago, we sent unmarked ships into their space, acting like scouts for an invasion force. We wanted to measure their response. What happened? Within hours, they had identified us. They calculated 14 different invasion routes from our space. They began moving forces to counter every single route. Then they sent us a message, we know who you are. We assume this is a test. We are ready. Please clarify your intentions. Marcus's crystal body pulsed with remembered fear. We stopped immediately. We apologized. We established friendly relations. But we learned the truth. Humanity assumes the worst and prepares for it. Always. Helen looked at her teacher. And now the Krauth have attacked them. Yes. The Krauth see peaceful behavior and think it means weakness. They do not understand that human peace is a choice, not a limitation. When you take that choice away, when you harm their people, you reveal what they truly are. What are they? Survivors. Humans are the apex predators of a death world. They evolved to chase prey until it dies. They evolved to solve any problem. They evolved to remember every threat and eliminate it permanently. The Krauth killed 50,000 humans. Humanity will not rest until the Krauth can never threaten them again. The archive darkened. In the distance, reports began arriving. Human fleets were engaging Krauth forces across 17 different systems simultaneously. The war had begun. And the Krauth were already learning they had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Elizabeth Carter stood on the bridge of the warship Relentless, watching her tactical display. Around her fleet, 17 other human battle groups were moving into position. Each group targeted a different Krauth military installation. All groups report ready, her communications officer announced. Elizabeth nodded. Before every engagement, she did the same thing. She activated the ship-wide communication system and began reading names. Sarah Mitchell, age 7. David Chen, age 42. Robert Williams, age 19. Patricia Moore, age 65. She read slowly, clearly. These were the names of colonists killed at New Horizon. Every human ship in the fleet broadcast these names before attacking. 50,000 names. The Krauth would hear every single one. Fire, Elizabeth commanded. The human fleet struck simultaneously across all 17 targets. The Krauth had expected traditional warfare, fleet against fleet in open space. Instead, humans attacked from asteroids, from behind moons, from vectors the Krauth had not considered possible. At the Krauth military station Delta 7, Commander Volm watched in confusion as his sensors showed human ships appearing and disappearing. They would fire, then vanish before his weapons could lock on. Where are they going? He demanded. They are using the asteroid field, sir. Hiding behind rocks, firing, then moving to new positions. That is cowardly. Dishonorable. Volm shouted. But honor did not matter. Within 2 hours, Station Delta 7 was destroyed. Across the battle zones, the pattern repeated. Krauth forces expected direct combat. Humans gave them ambushes, traps, and psychological warfare. Before each battle, the names. After each victory, a single message, New Horizon remembers. War Premier Voltaire watched the reports with growing alarm. In 3 days, humanity had destroyed or disabled 8 major Krauth military installations. His forces outnumbered the humans 3 to 1, but somehow they kept losing. They fight like cowards, he told his council. They hide, they run, they refuse direct engagement. His chief strategist, an older Krauth named Melvose, studied the battle reports carefully. Sir, I do not think they are cowards. I think they are doing exactly what they trained to do. They assume they are outnumbered, so they never fight fair. They use every advantage, every tactic, every trick. We have superior numbers. Numbers mean nothing if we cannot bring them to bear. The humans force us to fight in small groups, in difficult terrain, in situations where our advantage disappears. Voltaire slammed his limbs on the table. Then we adapt. We learn their tactics and counter them. Sir, that is the problem. They are adapting faster than we are. In the last 3 days, they have changed their approach 4 times. Every time we develop a counter-strategy, they shift to something new. The war continued. The Krauth deployed biological weapons on one front. Within 12 hours, human forces had developed countermeasures and used those same weapons against Krauth supply lines. The Krauth tried using their numerical superiority to overwhelm human positions. The humans retreated, drawing Krauth fleets deep into space, then cut off their supply lines. Entire Krauth fleets found themselves stranded without fuel or ammunition. At the Battle of Krauth Prime's outer orbital ring, the Krauth made their stand. They gathered their largest fleet, over 2,000 warships, to defend their home world. Admiral Elizabeth Carter brought only 400 ships. The Krauth were confident. Elizabeth read the names again. All 50,000. It took 6 hours. Then she attacked, but not the Krauth fleet. She attacked the orbital defense stations. Her ships flew in patterns that seemed random until suddenly the Krauth realized the humans had turned the station's own weapons against them. The defense grid that was supposed to protect Krauth Prime was now firing on Krauth ships. In the chaos, Elizabeth's fleet tore through the confused Krauth forces. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Krauth fleet was shattered. Voltar finally tried to negotiate. He sent a message to Earth, "We wish to discuss terms." The response came from Ambassador Wright. It was one word: 48 hours. The Krauth did not understand until human fleets began systematically dismantling every military shipyard, every weapons factory, every strategic installation in Krauth space. Humans did not occupy worlds or kill civilians. They simply removed the Krauth's ability to wage war. Species that had been part of the Krauth Dominion saw what was happening and quickly abandoned Voltar. Within 3 weeks, the Dominion collapsed. Voltar's own government arrested him and begged humanity for mercy. Elizabeth Carter received orders from Earth. The message was simple: dismantle their military completely. Make sure they never threaten anyone again. But do not become what we fight against. No civilian casualties. No occupation. No revenge beyond justice. She understood. Humanity did not want to conquer. They wanted to ensure this never happened again. The war ended not with a grand battle, but with the systematic, methodical removal of every weapon the Krauth possessed. 50,000 names had been remembered. 50,000 deaths had been answered. The galaxy watched and learned what happened when you challenged humanity. 3 months after the war began, Ambassador Thomas Wright returned to the Galactic Council chamber. He walked with the same calm dignity as always, but now every species watched him with new understanding. The Krauth Dominion no longer existed. The aggressive empire that had threatened humanity now consisted of dozens of small, independent governments. Their military was gone, dismantled piece by human forces. Not a single Krauth civilian had been harmed, but their ability to wage war had been completely removed. War Premier Voltar sat in chains in a neutral prison, awaiting trial for the murder of 50,000 humans. Wright stood before the council and presented Earth's terms. His voice was calm and professional, as if discussing a trade agreement rather than the end of a war. The former Krauth territories will be administered by a coalition of neutral species for the next 50 years. During this time, they will learn self-governance without military aggression. All weapons manufacturing is banned. All warships are scrapped. Reparations will be paid to New Horizon survivors for the next century. He paused, looking around the chamber. These terms are not negotiable. They are not punishment. They are insurance. Insurance that this never happens again. The council voted. Every species agreed. Several aggressive empires that had been planning expansion into other territories suddenly offered trade agreements and peaceful alliances instead. After the vote, Elder Marcus approached Wright privately. The ancient Vaughn's crystal body pulsed with colors of respect and sadness. "Ambassador, I must tell you something. Something we have kept secret for 500 years. Wright listened silently. When humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, we were watching. We decided to test you. We sent unmarked ships into your space, behaving as if scouting for invasion. We wanted to see how you would respond." Marcus's colors showed shame. "Within hours, you had identified our species. You calculated every possible invasion route from Vaughn space. You began preparing defenses for all of them simultaneously. Then you sent us a message. You said you assumed it was a test, but you were ready regardless. You asked us to clarify our intentions." Wright's expression did not change, but he nodded slightly. "I remember reading about that in the historical files. The Vaughn incident. It is taught in our military academies as an example of proper response to unknown threats." "We stopped immediately," Marcus continued. "We realized then what the Krauth learn now. Humanity is capable of great kindness, amazing art, beautiful philosophy. But you are also the most efficient survivors in the galaxy. You prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. You never forget a threat, and you never leave yourself vulnerable." "That is accurate," Wright replied simply. "We established one rule after that test: never challenge humanity. We tried to warn Voltar. He did not listen." Wright was quiet for a moment, then spoke softly. "Elder, we did not want this war. We genuinely hoped the galaxy would be a place of peace. But our entire history taught us that peace only exists when everyone chooses it. The moment someone chooses violence, you must be ready." "I understand," Marcus said. "What will humanity do now?" "What we have always done. We will rebuild New Horizon. We will help the former Kralf species learn to govern themselves peacefully. We will continue being members of this council. We will continue hoping for peace. Wright's eyes met Marcus's crystalline form. But we will never stop preparing for war. That is the price of survival. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Months later, the memorial at New Horizon was completed. Species from across the galaxy had sent representatives to help rebuild the colony. The memorial was a simple wall of black stone with 50,000 names carved into it. At the bottom, in every galactic language, was a single sentence: they challenged humanity. Humanity answered. Let this be the last time. Admiral Elizabeth Carter stood before the memorial with other survivors. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, placed flowers at the base. Her parents had died in the bombardment. Will it happen again? The girl asked Elizabeth. Elizabeth knelt down beside her. I hope not. But if it does, we will be ready. We will always be ready. In the Galactic Council archives, Elder Marcus made one final entry in humanity's file. His student Helen watched as he wrote. What are you recording, teacher? A warning. A reminder. For any species that might forget what happened here. Marcus's crystal body pulsed with the colors of absolute certainty. He spoke as he wrote, the elders had one rule about humanity: never challenge them. One species ignored it. There will be no others. The entry was marked with the highest priority level and locked so it could never be deleted or changed. Every species that joined the Galactic Council would be required to read it as part of their orientation. Helen looked at her teacher. Do you think the galaxy will remember? Marcus's colors shifted to something like hope mixed with caution. They will remember. The Kralf made sure of that. They showed the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. They showed everyone that peace is not weakness, and kindness is not the same as helplessness. Outside the archive, life continued. Species traded, communicated, and cooperated. But now, every diplomatic negotiation, every territorial discussion, every potential conflict was approached with new wisdom. Nobody wanted to be the next one to learn humanity's lesson. The galaxy had finally understood. Humans were the species that hoped for peace but prepared for war. They were the survivors of a death world who chose kindness but never forgot how to fight. And they never, ever forgot those who harmed their own.